Okay, so let's unpack this. We're looking at a really um, incredible case study today in corporate survival.
A classic case, yeah.
Philips Lighting, or Signify, as they're called now.
Right. And for over a century, their core business was, pretty simple, just selling replacement light bulbs.
But when the LED bulb became standard, well, that whole model just collapsed.
The bottom fell out, prices, margins, everything just went right to the floor. It was a genuine existential crisis for them.
So what's fascinating here is how they responded.
Instead of trying to compete on price for an $8 product, they did something pretty radical. They pioneered this shift to light as a service.
Yes.
LaaS, yeah. It's a classic move from CapEx to OpEx, from capital expenditure to an operating cost. Puts them right in that whole as a service trend.
So the mission was to stop selling a physical product.
And start selling the outcome. Illumination itself.
So with LaaS, the customer just pays an annual fee for, say, a guaranteed level of light.
Exactly. They get 500 lux or whatever they need, and Philips keeps ownership of all the fixtures and the lamps.
And that's the key, right? That's where the value is.
That's where the massive value capture comes in. I mean, think about it. The bulb itself might be $8.
Right.
But the lifetime energy savings compared to an old incandescent bulb, that could be over $160.
Wow.
And LaaS is the mechanism they built to capture a piece of that much, much larger value pool.
That's a huge shift. And the whole thing started with just one customer request, right? Back in 2010.
It did, yeah. A Dutch architect, Thomas Rau, he literally went to them and said, I don't want to buy your product.
He said he wanted to buy light.
Just light. And that request became the blueprint. The senior innovation director, Robert Metzger, he really championed the idea.
And they started running these pilots sort of under the radar.
They did. Rau's own office was the first big success. They used these adjustable floating ceilings and sensors.
And energy use just plummeted.
Dropped by 45 to 65%, just by lighting the areas that people were actually in.
And it wasn't just small offices. They scaled this up pretty fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That led to huge, iconic projects like Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport.
Which became one of the most eco-friendly airports in the world from this.
It cut its electricity use by 50%.
50. That's incredible.
And that's just the start. The service quickly evolved and pushed into the Internet of Things space.
The IoT space.
Take the Edge, which is Deloitte's office in the Netherlands. The LED lights there aren't just for illumination.
They're a sensor network.
A massive sensor network. They capture data on room occupancy, which is then used to manage everything from heating and cooling to, where to send the cleaning staff.
That is a stunning level of integration. But wait a second. If Philips owns all these assets for 15, maybe 20 years, doesn't that make them a maintenance company?
It absolutely does. And that's where the next huge set of problems came in.
The operational hurdles.
Exactly.
Oh.
The whole company was structured for one-time sales. Suddenly, you have to retrain your salespeople who are used to selling a box of bulbs to a facilities manager.
To now sell a really complex, multi-year value proposition to a financial manager.
A completely different conversation.
And the internal systems, I can't even imagine.
A disaster. They estimated that just modifying their ERP software to handle recurring revenue would cost tens of millions and take 5 years.
And what about the cash flow? That must have been a nightmare.
It was the most immediate problem. Philips had to pre-finance all the production and installation costs.
But the revenue just trickles in over years.
So on the books, it creates an immediate loss. It also ballooned the inventory sitting on their balance sheet.
And how could you even calculate the ROI when you don't know the residual value of all that used equipment at the end of a long contract?
You couldn't, not easily. So they realized they couldn't be a bank and a technology provider at the same time.
So they had to form partnerships. That was the key.
Precisely. They partnered with a leasing company, Delage Landon, for that initial financing. Then, and this is the really clever part, they created an internal group.
Philips Lighting Capital.
Right, and they worked with external banks to get the LaaS equipment completely off of Philips's balance sheet. It solved the inventory risk.
And that structure, that must have helped them gain trust from outside finance.
It did. It culminated in the SUSI Energy Efficiency Fund committing a huge $25 million in 2018.
So this whole ecosystem service, tech, finance, it gives them a competitive advantage that a low-cost manufacturer just can't replicate easily.
They're not just selling light anymore. They're selling guaranteed performance.
So what does this all mean for you? Even with these successful European pilots, Philips still had this critical strategic question to wrestle with.
A huge one.
How quickly should we actually scale this transition globally? And was there optimism about LaaS solving all their problems? Was it too high?
especially if a competitor could eventually just copy the financial model.
And that's the ongoing balancing act, isn't it? The tension between innovation and risk is something every leader has to face.